Hey, Matt, I told you I'd tell you this story about how I got Joe Pa and Sandusky's autograph. So it's 1999. Hawks are playing at Kinnick Stadium. Incidentally, it was the last Iowa game I went to before I got married. And I have this football. I'll send you a picture of it. It's downstairs. That I took to all these Iowa games who I wanted to get Big Ten coaches to sign. And so I'd wait around after the game and have them sign it. The coach is always the last one out. The head coach is always the last one out. The players come out of the locker room. They're down there doing press conference and all this stuff. And so finally the coach comes and I'd ask him to sign it. It always only worked when they had beat the Hawks, whoever the team was, because if they lost to the Hawks, they were in a bad mood, with the exception of Joe Tiller. Purdue, he signed it, and he that was a cool story too. But anyway, so I'm standing around. It must have been October, whatever, and it was the year that LeVar Arrington and Courtney Brown were on the team, and so the players are all coming out. All I want is Joe Pa's autograph on this football. And there was a lot of talk at that time that Paterno was going to be done at Penn State. And there was a lot of talk at that time that Sandusky was the obvious replacement for Paterno. And so I'm waiting and I see Sandusky. I knew who Jerry Sandusky was. And so I see him standing there. And, the assistant coaches and the players are kind of milling around with their families and some Penn State fans and whatever. And so I go over to Mr. Sandusky, Coach Sandusky, while I'm waiting for Paterno, and just said, "Hey, would you mind signing this football? It's a bunch of Big Ten coaches, blah, blah, blah." And assuming he was going to be the next head coach, I was kind of getting ahead of the game a little bit to have this additional Big Ten coach when he took Paterno's job. So Sandusky signs it. Obviously, I don't think anything of it. And I'm sure not a ton of people are asking him for his autograph, so whatever. He was nice enough to sign it. He did not grope me. I was kidding about that. So anyway, here comes Paterno. And I mean, you're a Penn State fan, so you know this. Paterno is tiny, short. And by the time he came out, pretty much everybody, the parents, the fans, everyone had left except for probably 8 or 10 kids. I'm talking like junior high or elementary age kids. And a few people in the corner of the stadium. I mean, there was hardly anyone out there. Everyone was on the buses, the players, the coaches. And here comes Paterno. Comes out of the door, and immediately I'm like, I got to go up and get his autograph. He's got a kind of a trench coat on and like a khaki one. I can't remember if he was carrying it or if he had it on. He's got a kind of a briefcase over his shoulder, and I'm the first one to get to him. I was probably 1999. How old was I? 25, 24. And so I go up to him. I go, Coach Paterno, this is a football signed by a bunch of Big Ten coaches. I'd be honored to have your signature on it. Of course, I always take my Iowa stuff off when I do this because I don't want them to think that I'm not a fan of their team. So anyway, by the time I get there and say that, these other 6 or 8 younger kids have kind of flocked around him too. And he's like, "Oh, come on, guy." You know how his voice is kind of kind of high pitched. He's like, "Oh, come on, guys. I don't got time for this." And he was just kind of annoyed and all this. But by the time he could say that, like, "I can't sign this autograph," whatever he was saying, everyone had mobbed around him and he couldn't go anywhere. And so he's kind of trapped. And so he's like, "Oh, come on, guys. I don't got any time for this." And then a couple seconds later, when he realizes he's not going to get anywhere, he's like, all right, give me the pen." And so I gave him my Sharpie and he signed the ball. And it's faded a little bit. And it was already kind of a weak signature because the Sharpie wasn't a good one, which I kicked myself for. But anyway, that's that. Obviously, Sandusky never became the head coach. Later.